Although March 29th started out as a typical day for most of us, it is a date that has forever changed a man, his family, a police department, and a community.
I responded with several other officers, and when I got there, we were told that the suspects were inside the house. So myself and another officer went to the rear of the house, and then when the suspects realized that we were out surrounded, had the house surrounded, they ran towards the garage, and I kind of followed them back towards the garage. I could hear them in the garage trying to break into one of the victim's cars, and so I went around I radioed to dispatch and the other officers on scene the updated information, and then I responded to the garage doors, the actual garage doors. At that time, they backed through the garage doors and tried to take off. We pursued, and they eventually crashed out at 23rd and Cedar, I believe.
Officer Tom Wagstaff had suffered a gunshot wound to his head while responding to a call. Officers on scene provided first aid and placed Officer Wagstaff in their police vehicle as they recognized that AMR might be unable to access him due to safety reasons. IPD quickly secured the scene, allowing AMR and first responders to be at Officer Wagstaff's side in less than 1 minute.
I mean, gunshot wound to the head is not ever anything good. There was a lot going on. You know, it's a weird feeling having to pull body armor off of somebody. I've never had to do that, and you know, again, it's somebody that you work with, and it's guys that you've been on calls with, and so I think there's just that. We got to do our job, but I think there's just that added extra emotion.
When Officer Wagstaff arrived in the trauma room, Centerpoint staff knew we were taking care of our own. Officer Wagstaff had suffered a devastating brain injury. He was taken emergently to the operating room where neurosurgeon Dr. Roger Ray worked to save his life and preserve brain function.
They called me to the ER for level 1 trauma. There was a gunshot wound to the head. I looked at the CT scan and evaluated the patient.
There were caregivers calling Dr. Ray to respond. There were also a group of people who were trying to figure out how to help Stacy and the family get there and be there. Because of the traumatic nature of the injury, I think people were a little down. They looked to our physicians to give us the correct response, and as Dr. Ray came around the corner, he is really going to make the decision of how we move forward with the case. And so when that happens, we get sort of in a wait and see mode. And from the first responder handoff to nursing telling Dr. Ray what was going on, he felt that he could make a difference.
It's crucial. I mean, the first few moments are really important, and you know, if they aren't handled properly before they get to the hospital, then nothing else matters.
In the first days after his injury, physicians and staff prepared his family for the worst. He was not improving, and given the severity of his injury, experience would tell us that his prognosis was very poor. However, he set out to prove each one of us wrong. On April 4th, just 6 days after his injury, Officer Wagstaff opened his eyes.
It was very surprising that he, started following commands and opening his eyes as soon as he did. Most folks with an injury like his, probably wouldn't even survive. And so the fact that he was actually waking up and doing things we asked him to do was extremely unusual, maybe a miracle.
10 days after his injury, Officer Wagstaff was able to smile to his family and fellow officers who had stood vigil at his bedside. Each day saw him improve, and on April 14th, Officer Wagstaff was stable enough to transfer from the ICU to the rehabilitation facility in Nebraska for ongoing therapy.
To be able to walk again is my main goal, because right now I have no control over my left leg, and so as soon as I can get control of that, my main goal is to be able just to walk again and be able to participate in my family's life like I used to be able to.
What does it mean to you to be able to come to an event like a Mavericks game and be part of a community again?
Oh, that's one of the things that I always love doing with my family and my kids, is taking them to sporting events. They love coming to the Mavericks game, so I try to bring them as much as I possibly can.
Is there anything you would like to say to the fans and to the community at large?
I'd like to thank them for all their support and continued support, and I'm back, and I really, really appreciate it.